Namaste and welcome, dear friends, to the fourth class of the Bhagavad Gita, a sacred dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. We shall begin our class with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Bhagwan Krishna, Jesus Christ, Mahavatar Babaji, Lehri Mahashay, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Gurudev, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. Dear God, teach me to feel that I am enveloped always in the aureole of thine all-protecting omnipresence, in birth, in sorrow, in joy, in activity, in meditation, in ignorance, in trials, in death, and in final emancipation. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us now invoke the presence of the Gurus by singing the hymn to Brahma, followed by a chant. Let's sing the chant Om Namo Narayana. The word Narayan means the all-pervading and the all-flowing. Om Namo Narayana. 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 Om Namo just take one moment of silence as we center ourselves from the daily activities into this moment. Let us leave away all extra thoughts that do not belong in this moment. And let us focus all our energies to open our heart and mind to receive the highest teaching that is coming directly from Lord Krishna. So, dear friends, we move on to our study of the Bhagavad Gita. In the last class, we started chapter 1 and verse 1. And of course, the title or the main meaning around verse 1 was, what did they? And in verse 1, Dhritarashtra asks Sanjay that when his sons and the sons of Pandu were standing in front of each other for battle on the field of Kurukshetra, what did they? In retrospect, the narration is given, and Guruji says, Paramahansa Yogananda ji says that this actually means, it's a metaphoric meaning for all devotees and all seekers of truth, that at the end of each day, the devotee introspects. So Sanjay is the power of impartial introspection present in each one of us. And of course, we know that the Pandavas represent our good virtues and the Kauravas represent the vices. And therefore, a clear introspection at the end of each day looks into the armies of the good virtues of the Pandavas versus the vices or the Kauravas, and asks itself, what did they? How are they placed in front of each other? What are the attitudes that I used during the day? What were the tendencies that I followed? What were the actions that I did? And not only the actions, what was the intent behind those actions when I did them? So all of that, the devotee or the seeker, he looks inside of himself and he looks at that array of the armies and asks, what did they? And of course, once he understands and he's able to see clearly, only then when the next day arises, and as Yogananda ji said, that the battle has to be fought anew every day. So when the next day arises, then the devotee or the seeker knows that this is how it was placed yesterday, and it seemed that either the virtues or the vices won, and therefore now how must I follow during the day? What shall be my activities? What shall be my speech? What shall be my intent and attitudes? So that today, by the end of today, I can say that yes, my virtues are winning, that I am on the winning side. And Yogananda ji gives such a great, long description for this verse, because we are laying a foundation. Because unless we know what the opposing armies are, there are certain hidden characters in our own self which we are not aware on our own. And the first, in fact, the entire chapter of the Gita, the first chapter, it will tell us and enumerate all the qualities, all the warriors that were present in the battle of Mahabharata, are characters in our own self. And the Gita will tell us, and Master will explain as to what those characters mean, how we need to place them, and then who will win over what. Okay, so continuing the description of the first verse, Yogananda ji had said that we seldom realize that the success that we have in this life, the wisdom that we have in this life, the health that we have in this life, all of that is actually ensuing as a result of the battle between the good and the bad habits. So habit is versus a discrimination born of free choice is always the battle. And he said that all the actions that we do every day are not only a result of our free choice, but it is also the result of our prenatal karmic tendencies, means what tendencies we have brought from past lives. It is also a result of the present environment and also the postnatal habits that we have consciously or unconsciously developed. So whatever action we do right now today depends on all of these actions. And it is in the best interest of the devotee that he acts out of wisdom and out of his free will and free choice, considering that all these factors are behind him, but being in the present moment, seeing the armies arrayed, seeing the current situation and then using his God-given faculty of free choice to exercise his proper viveka or discrimination or discernment, and then decide what action he must do and in what way he must do that. Then Yogananda ji tells us that we can increase our good habits. How? By reinforcing them with repeated good actions. And then we must starve our bad habits. How? By practicing self-control, by transcending those. How can we actually transcend and correct our bad habits unless we are able to see them? So therefore the importance of an impartial introspection, that we look into our own self, we acknowledge that we have certain bad habits, and then we are willing to fight the war and say that I'm going to let go of these bad habits, I'm going to starve these bad habits, and instead I'm going to perform repeatedly good actions which will increase my good habits. Then another faculty that each of us has been given is the power of will. So willpower, what does it do? So of course we know that willpower is a combination of desire and the energy you put into fulfilling that desire. And all of us have that. Willpower is that which converts your thoughts into, it manifests them into energy, and finally it can manifest all of that into matter, and it can bring forth from the infinite invisible ether into manifestation, into physical manifestation, whatever you want in your life. If you just look back in your life, all you have thought became a manifestation. For example, in school you thought of a particular career and you thought, okay, for example, you say I want to become an engineer. Then you put in the energy to do that. You studied, you did the tapasya of leaving out your extra activities, you focused on your study, you put in the energy, you filled in the application form, and then you manifested by the power of your will and your focused energy in that direction. You manifested the career of becoming an engineer, and so on and so forth. All the other things in your life are similarly patterned. That first you have a desire, that okay, you set your goal, then you put in your energy, you put in your time, you do the tapasya, you focus your energy, and then that's how you are able to manifest that. So therefore willpower is a very important faculty that each one of us has. And we know Yogananda ji's adage says, greater the will, greater the flow of energy. And of course we know that greater the flow of energy, greater is the joy that we feel. Have you ever seen a low energy person sitting like this and say, oh, I am so joyful? No. The person who is joyful is high energy. His very body language, the position of his eyes, the way he communicates through his eyes, the whole bodily language, it tells you that this person is a high energy person. And only a high energy person can be a joyful person. And how can you increase your energy? We just said, besides the general things that of food, of sleep, of exercise, if you exercise your willpower correctly, then you can draw a lot of energy from the cosmos, and then you will have more and more energy. So now when you combine your willpower with your power of discrimination or viveka, means analyzing what is right and what is wrong and what is permanent and what is temporary, then what you can do is you can increase your power to fight over the prenatal karmic tendencies and the postnatal habits that you have formed. And therefore once you can override these, then your action will be dependent mainly on your current free choice, which is guided by your wisdom. And that is what we want. That is in a sense freedom. Otherwise, if you are working subconsciously based on our past habits, then we are not free. We are in bondage, because we cannot even take one step out of free will, because we are so much, there's a lot of baggage behind us. So anything that I do, if it is subconsciously determined by what I did in my past, then I am not a free soul. And therefore I must ensure on a daily basis that I am a high energy person, that I exercise my willpower, I keep my introspection ready, and I use all the forces that are available to me to fight this battle. Okay. Another aspect of this of will, and of course we said will is, there is a desire and that you fulfill the desire. Now there is a difference between having desires or having a desirous attachment. So for example, you may have a desire to help others, so that is not such a bad desire. But on the other hand, you may have a desirous attachment to a set of people, or a desirous attachment to a particular goal. Now that is what binds us actually. So desire is evil because it binds us to the round of birth, death, rebirth, more karma, and then again the cycle repeats. And therefore, according to all traditions, especially all traditions related to Hinduism, which is an extension to which is Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, all of that eventually will tell us that we must transcend desire, because desire will bind us. So of course, what do we do first? What do we do if we are feeling hungry? We are going to have the desire to eat food. So Yogananda ji said, first you modify your desires, you limit your desires, you check what your necessities are, and you work only on them. You can always give away the extra things that you know you're looking for in life. Mostly that is entertainment. Mostly that is more money that you actually need, more intellectual accomplishment that will really help you. So more and extra of everything that you are looking for, you have to transmute that. Ask yourself what is necessary, and for that you have to ask yourself first, what is my goal in life? So unless you keep self-realization as your goal, or God realization as your goal, whatever other desires you have are going to keep bringing you back again and again and again. Now, if you like this ride of life, which is being born again and then growing old and then decaying and then if you like it, then keep as many desires as you like. But if you don't like it anymore, if you have reached a point where you say, okay, I'm fed up with this cycle, it's repeating itself and I feel I'm caught and I want to be free, then desirelessness is definitely wanted. And after you modify and limit your desire, then you fix your desire on God, and this is called a desireless desire. Why? Because having this one desire, you will be able to have vairagya, or detachment from all the other worldly desires. So yes, desire for God is also a desire, but it is the highest desire and a desireless desire. And eventually you will find that as you increase in your bhakti and jnana, you will find that it's not attaining something. When you attain God, you don't attain something actually, because you're already that in a sense. But what happens is that all the extras fall away from you. All that is the false sense of egoity, the false sense of separate existence, that is what falls away. And therefore, we need to modify our self. Once we have fixed the desire for God, then we need to organize our life according to that desire. Now, if I say that I want God, but I cannot leave my parties, and I cannot leave the extra money that I want to earn, I still want to go and buy lotteries, I still want to keep going on these escapades, this and that. We know the entertainment industry, how it runs. We want to go here, we want to go there, we want to taste, we want to have different colors, we want to have variety. So we want to have more, or a variety of all that we already have. So we have to leave all of that. And the beauty of the path of Kriya Yoga is that you don't beat yourself to removing these or leaving these desires. Kriya Yoga generates such a beautiful energy in you. When you taste that peace or that wisdom or that joy that comes with the practice of Kriya Yoga, you automatically leave the lesser desires. So you needn't beat yourself, they will automatically fall away. Your habit patterns, your attachments, your old tendencies, they will automatically fall away as you keep moving in your search for God and in your practice of Guru given meditation techniques. Okay. Also, it is very interesting that we have desires because we think that we are incomplete, and that having a particular object or a particular person or a particular position will complete us, and then we shall be happy. The interesting part is that when you leave your lesser desires and you work for God and you attain God to whatever degree, you start to find that you already attain the happiness that you would have found through those desires. You're already starting to feel complete and fulfilled in yourself, having God in your life, that your need for all those desires also falls away again. In fact, once you have complete communion with God, then there is no need for any desire, because you're already in that Satchidananda or Paramananda. There is a state of joy or bliss which has no opposite. Okay. So a master says, the spiritual aspirant therefore learns to conquer in all battles in order to make the kingdom of his life free from every darkness, so that God's perfect presence is perceived therein. So as we said earlier, God attainment is not an attainment in space and time, it's just a removal of all that you are not. So as you purify your heart and mind with your spiritual practices, with Kriya Yoga, with Yam and Niyam, you become a perfect channel or a perfect substratum in which God, who is already present, that reflection starts to shine within you. Okay. A very important battle that we have to fight on a daily basis. Now, these are practical daily tips given by Master. He says, how do you maintain health in your bodily kingdom? And as I read out from Master's notes, and you mentally, I would ask you to tick in your mind whether you are following the guidelines that are given by Master. He says that whether you want material success or you want mental vitality, or even if you want success in meditation, all of that depends on whether your body is healthy or not. If your mind is always focused on the illness or the sickness or the pain in the body, then how are you going to transcend or raise yourself higher from body consciousness to a higher state of consciousness? Therefore, it is necessary that we must work to a reasonable extent to make the bodily vehicle healthy. And we discussed in the last class how the body is compared to a chariot, and it is the health of that chariot or the bodily vehicle is dependent on our choice, on our will, on our wisdom, and therefore what is it that we must do? So Master gives specific points, and I'll just read them out. We know them, but we need to reinforce them. One is live hygienically. Second is have the ideal diet of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, milk and milk products. Then is exercise. Then is plenty of fresh air and sunshine. And we know that Yogananda ji gave a set of heliotropic methods of healing, in which he talked about the exposure to sun and how the UV rays can actually help us to heal. Then he says, at the mental level, for health, you must practice self-control of senses and avoid any overindulgence. Besides that, you must employ techniques to relax the body and mind. And of course, we know that Yogananda ji has given us the set of 39 energization exercises, which are a wonderful way to recharge the body, to relax the body, and yet to fill it with so much energy. They are so simple, they are so scientific, and they are so non-strenuous, and yet you feel so recharged after you do those energization exercises. A very interesting thing that Yogananda ji said about these exercises is that they increase the amount of electrical current in your body, and that increased charge can actually, it can kill the bacteria and the viruses, and therefore practicing these will increase your immunity, increase your health. Not only your muscular strength will increase, but because your relaxation improves, because of that also the immunity, the repair mechanism of the body, the restfulness, that will also increase, and this prepares us very beautifully for our meditation. And of course, we said that not only do we need to just keep the bodily vehicle healthy, then we have to have a reinforcement of good character, positive thoughts, right living, and right meditation. Okay. The next thing he talks about is raising the level of consciousness. So we are all preparing for this battle. And then he talks about how a person, an ordinary person, is different from a person that lives at the superconscious level. So just again mentally see where we stand, and most of us are ordinary people. And who are ordinary people? That's what Master says. Man is not a master till he is engaged in the ordinary battles of life, like sensory temptations, desires, habits, limitation and identification with the body, restlessness of mental doubts and complexes. So we are all caught up in this. So according to master, this is a very ordinary state of consciousness. In ordinary state of consciousness, we are going to be filled with fear, fear of death, fear of sickness, fear of poverty, fear of many other innumerable ills like failure and so many others. Then ordinary person is bound by attachment to name, to social standing, to family, to race, to possessions. I think let's just think about this to ourselves. We are all bound by these things. He remains hypnotized by world delusions, which reinforce his assumption that he is a finite and limited creature. So as long as we think that we are this body and mind, we are limited ourselves. We are the soul which is part of the infinite self, but everything that we do on a daily basis actually increases our attachment to our body and actually increases our limitations and allows us to feel that we are only this body and mind. And there is only one way with this delusion can be broken. And what is that way? That is the first-hand experience of the vastness of your soul, the first-hand experience of the peace and the joy and the unconditional love of your own being, which is infinite in nature, by practicing daily meditation, by daily contact with God qualities, with the aspects of God on a daily basis. Once we touch that consciousness, only then we can compare where we are. Then only we can say that, oh, I am caught up with these little fears and worries and anxieties. On the other hand, when I meditate, I experience a oneness, a vastness, an infinite peace, and actually that is my true nature. So more and more daily meditation, deeper and deeper daily meditation will give us a glimpse and a first-hand experience of that infinity which we want to touch and that infinity which we are. And that is the only way of breaking this delusion that we are the body and mind. Okay. A very interesting thing that Master says here, he says, identification of consciousness with the alternating waves of change is known as restlessness. And then identification with changelessness is calmness. Now this is parallel to what Patanjali says in his third Yoga Sutra, where he says that if you do not attain a chitta vritti nirodha, means if you are not able to neutralize the vrittis in the mind, then the consciousness takes the shape of the vritti of the mind. So what this means is that although I am witness consciousness, I am the saksh, I am the soul, but if my mind has the vritti of anger, I do not say that, oh, my mind has the vritti of anger, I say I am angry. So what is happening is pure consciousness is identifying itself with the vritti of the mind, taking the shape of that vritti, and then of course your entire hav-bhav, means your entire attitude, your face, your body, your expression, your attitude, everything will be that of anger. Therefore consciousness will take the aspect of the mind, and that's what he is saying. The more your mind is identified with the changing world, the more it is going to be restless, and the more your consciousness is identified with the changelessness behind the mind, then the more calmer you shall be. And then of course we have all these stages. He says that there are some people who are all the time restless, 100% restless. And as you grow in your meditative practice, then you are 75% restless, but 25% calmness comes in. As you keep progressing, you are half the time you're restless, half the time you are calm. As you progress more, 75% calm and 25% restless. And then once you're able to touch the level of samadhi, you can be calm all the time, 100%. And that means you have identified yourself with pure consciousness or the changelessness of soul and spirit. Okay. So then he says, what is the method of attaining victory? Then he compares the philosopher or the theologian with the yogi. So a metaphysician or a philosopher, he will go with positive thinking. He will say right attitude, right action, harmony with the universe. These are all very good. But Master says that these will take a long time for you to manifest your soul consciousness. In fact, in some other books, it has been mentioned that it can take a cycle of many thousands of years. If you do keep practicing even these good qualities to the best of your capability, even then it's a slow process. On the other hand, what does the yogi do? The yogi reverses his descent from spirit into matter. So we discussed in the first class how spirit has descended into the material body and how it is expressing through this world. Now the yogi will reverse this descent and he will ascend through the cerebrospinal centers in the spine, back into the brain and back to the point from where the soul actually it descends and takes the human form. So that is why Kriya Yoga becomes the airplane route to God, because it works directly on the cerebrospinal axis, it works directly on the Sushumna, it works directly with the Kula Kundalini or the energy flowing in the center of your being, and then it takes it back. Okay. Now, as the yogi reverses this flow, what happens? So this again, I want you to check in yourself as to, are all these steps happening to you? And just for convenience, I have divided them into 5 steps, and the first step has also 5-6 sub steps. So as you start to meditate, what happens? So step number 1, let's say 1A. By the practice of Guru-given meditation, the aspiring yogi is strengthened in his resolve to find God through self-realization. So number 1 is that your resolve to find God in this life gets strengthened. So is it strengthened in you? Tick it in your mind. 1B. He no longer wishes to remain identified with worldliness, which is subject to the limitation of the body and the limitation of the opposites in nature like pain, pleasure, joy, sorrow, health, disease. So again, mentally check. Are you now ready to reject the worldliness, to rise above duality, and you do not want to identify with this the dual existence? So this is 1B. Now once this happens, then comes the next step, 1C. With the newly awakened discrimination, the yogi is able to free his consciousness from egoistic attachments to earthly possessions and his little circle of friends. So what happens the next? Now as you want to leave your identification with this little body, therefore you will have to leave your attachment with the immediate possessions or things and people that you think belong to you, or egoistic expressions. Now this does not mean, if master is saying that you must leave your egoic attachment to your little circle of friends and family, is this denial? Is this a negative intonation in your life? No, it's actually a sense of expansion. So what he's saying is that you expand your love not only to your little circle of family and friends, but to all whom you meet. So as you now again mentally tick this box, do you now feel affection for your colleagues, for your friends, for your relatives, for your neighbors more than you did when you started your journey in spirituality? And then of course you have to widen that circle even more. So steps 1D and E are actually expansion from the little us four and no more to the larger social circle, and then finally to the larger circle of the entire humanity. So as you will progress on your spiritual journey, you will automatically find that this expansion is taking place. Because no, how can we say to God, God, I love you, but I don't love your children? God is omnipresent. He is present in everybody. He is present in everybody's heart. Actually, in every atom of creation. But it is said that God is manifested very well in the heart of his children. And from there, because he's manifested there, therefore we must love everybody. And this is very much parallel to the commandment of Christ. The first commandment of Jesus Christ says, love the Lord thy God. And the second commandment says, love thy neighbor as thyself. This is, they are like, Nyaswami Asha would say, they're like little demons that enter into our system who want to obstruct our flow of energy. And they're like, the little, imagine those little cartoons entering, like the coronavirus, those cartoons entering into the wires and into the electronic gadgets. And they say, oh, we're not going to let you work on this project. And so they're just there. So it's okay. It's all right. God's will is supreme. We will just enjoy whatever happens. Okay. So where were we? We were at the point where we said that this is the way it progresses. The first is that your desire for God and self-realization develops. Then your identification, you want to rise above your identification from the body consciousness, and therefore you start to release your attachments from your little circle of friends, and therefore you expand your to your love, your unconditional love and friendship to all the people around you, and in fact eventually to all humanity. Okay. So the final step in this series is that the wise yogi first reclaims his divine birthright, and then he finds to him flowing all the needful experiences and possessions. So once you are starting to move in this direction, then whatever experiences you need on this path will automatically come to you. So some people will come which appear as challenges or difficulties, but actually they are showing you the correct way. They are helping you to raise your energy and fight that battle and to go beyond that. And some friends will come in your life which will direct you towards God even more. Some books will come into your life. And of course, the most priceless of possessions is the guru in our life. So all of that, is going to happen, and your life will get organized, and it all starts by that one desire of self-realization, and you start to organize your life around it. A very interesting thought that Yogananda ji puts in here. He says, the ordinary human being is the loser by attachment to a few persons and things, all of which he must forsake at death. And this is, if we have read the autobiography of a yogi, where Bhadri Mahashaya says that it is, when somebody said that you have renounced the riches, he said, it is the ordinary worldly man who is the renouncer, because he has renounced the vast infinite kingdom of omnipresence for a little petty and paltry things. One little house on one little planet in one little solar system in one galaxy of the multiverses that exist. We want the whole. Why we want the whole? Because we are an inseparable part of that whole. Unless we gain that wholeness or completeness, we will never be satisfied. And therefore, we must rise from being that ordinary person looking for ordinary successes from worldly pursuits. We must transfer our energy, willingness, desire towards God and the highest fulfillment of self-realization. Okay, so now after having done this is the external battle. Now the second step out of the 5 steps is that now the yogi finds his consciousness is free from external attachments, but it is tenaciously clinging to body consciousness when he tries to meditate. So this is the second level, where now he relatively is fighting the outer battles and he is now wanting to meditate, sit there, but he finds that there is some obstruction, some mental obstruction like mental restlessness, some bodily problems, and all the time his mind is drawn back into his body and mind. But then what happens? His master says that experiences of peace, of joy, that will happen to the initial, to the meditating devotee in his initial time or years, will keep encouraging him. They will keep him pulling back to that wanting to meditate state. So it is always wise that as we meditate and we feel the joy, and if after sometimes we feel that we are getting very restless, it's always good to maybe have a shorter and more intense and deeper meditation than to keep sitting for a long time and end up in restlessness. Because what will happen then, that the memory of restlessness will not bring you back to sit into meditation. but the memory of the feeling of joy and peace that you had in meditation, that will encourage you and bring you back and make you sit again in meditation. So the inner battle now starts to happen. And he says that you must persevere. At this point, one must persevere and one must trust what the Guru is saying, that all this effort is worthwhile, that you will reach, there will be light at the end of the tunnel, and therefore you must persevere through this step. Now that you have started to sit in meditation and you're able to feel, now what is the next thing that the yogi needs to do? That comes step number 3, and that is again involves deep concentration. Now solely upon God or one of his aspects. We know that God can be expressed in one of his 8 aspects. Therefore now comes the point of single pointed concentration. So I hope you're all ticking in your mind as to where you are in this journey. Then the step number 4, Master says, is the simultaneous control of of life force, of prana. So I would say that these steps are not rather than one after the other, these are simultaneously happening. So at the same time you are trying to control the body and mind, same time you are trying to do pranayam practice, at the same time you are trying to concentrate. So all these are steps are simultaneously rather than one after the other. Okay. So by the right technique of life force control, now the yogi learns to control his breath and his heart. So he can achieve, to some point he can achieve the breathless state, and at some point he can quieten the heart. So now I am sure many eyebrows are being raised here, because many of us are not able to quieten the heart completely, but most of us are able to quieten the restless breath to some degree and some extent. So if you are able to quieten your breath to whatever degree, that means you are progressing and that your direction is correct. And therefore do not feel discouraged that, oh, I am not able to still my heart just as master would, therefore I am not worthy or I am not getting there. It's not that. Your direction is correct, your goal is correct, and therefore by the grace of the Guru and your own determined efforts and your sincerity, that will also happen sooner or later. Okay. And then of course step number 5 happens automatically when the breath and the heart quietens. Then the yogi automatically enters the state of super consciousness. And actually because the yogi can enter super consciousness, therefore he can fight the daily battle of life of Kurukshetra well, without actually touching the super consciousness or feeling the communion with God on a daily basis and experiencing firsthand. It is very difficult to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Now you may think that once I have entered the super conscious state, then what is the need to fight the battle? Because all the past karma is still pending, and all of that is going to pose as a battle in front of us. And let us also not forget that Krishna is giving this address to Arjuna on the battlefield before the war. Even after Arjuna sees Krishna in his Vishwarupa, then the battle will begin. Therefore, even on a daily basis, once you have confidence, even a little confidence that God is with you, He is watching over you, that you can connect to Him, and after that the real war will begin. So don't think that this is an easy path or an easy way. No, but it guarantees success. Why it guarantees success? Because having done the previous steps, you are in tune with Krishna, and having Krishna on your side means you're going to be victorious. However difficult the battle is, you are going to be victorious. And also remembering what Krishna says, you will say in the 2nd chapter, that you are the ever victorious soul already, that you cannot die. And we will come to that in greater detail as we progress. Okay. Now, also Yogananda ji explains that what all happens in super consciousness. Now, although most of us will not have experienced the things that he is now going to mention, but again let us remember that this is directional. So he says that Once the yogi enters the superconscious state and is able to consciously, activate the Agya chakra, both the positive and the negative poles of the Agya chakra, then he is able to see certain phenomena, certain visions and certain lights. And the beauty of that world starts to open up to him. And once the yogi is able to taste that, he has a sense of comparison and he can never actually get satisfied with the little pleasures that the world offers him. And once that happens, then all the more you become determined that no, I am going to go into this realm. I am going into higher states of consciousness. I want to rise above my limited existence in this human body. I want to, go more into expansion towards omnipresence, which is my true nature. Okay. So again, eventually the battle, is between staying in the human consciousness or trying to go towards super consciousness, then Krishna consciousness and cosmic consciousness. So we have to again discriminate. And how will we discriminate if we have not tasted the other? In the ordinary man, the ego floats down the current of sense pleasures, finally wrecking itself the torrents of satiety and ignorance. But in the superman, the entire current of life force, attention, and wisdom moves flood like towards the soul. The consciousness swims in a sea of God's omnipresence and peace and bliss. Living in this world, then, he is not of the world. He is aware of hunger, thirst, and other conditions of the body, but his inner consciousness identifies itself not with the body. So it's not that after enlightenment, suddenly your hunger and thirst and everything will vanish. You still have a body to operate with. You will still have to satisfy that. But your mind is at a much higher state, and you have risen from human consciousness into higher consciousness, and you're having food only to satisfy the need of the body, but you are not caught up by the body. And if on a certain day you do not get food, then also it does not bother you. You are able to easily control the basal urges of the body. Okay. From joy we have come, in joy we live, and in joy we have our being. So the super conscious person will come to the realization of this, that although I am right now living in a human body, playing a little role of this personality, but what is the eternal truth of my being? And from there he will start to function. So although an enlightened person will continue to have a body, a personality to the outsider, but from the inside, he completely knows the truth. He feels his oneness with the omnipresence. He knows his nature of bliss and joy, and he functions from that aspect. Okay, now we all come. So this very interesting last statement before I read verse 2. It says, tell all my future devotees, therefore, to keep each night a mental vigil diary in order to assess their daily inner battles, and thereby to better resist the forces of their blind mental impulses and to support the soldiers of discerning wisdom. So this clearly says that it is the battle that is fought by each one of us on a daily basis. Okay, now this brings us to verse number 2, shlok number 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. Sanjay Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudam Duryodhanastada Acharyamapu Sangama Raja Vachanam Bravitaha. Meaning, in Hindi, संजय ने कहा, तब राजा दुर्योधन ने व्यूह रचना में पांडवों की सेनाओं को देखकर अपने गुरु द्रोण के पास लौटकर इस प्रकार कहा. Sanjay said, then King Duryodhan, after having seen the armies of the Pandavas in the battle array, repaired to his preceptor Drona and spoke as follows. So, very interesting turn of events now. So, as Sanjay is watching and telling Dhritarashtra, he is narrating now that as soon as Duryodhan is seeing the armies, he goes to meet his guru, his preceptor, who is Dronacharya. Now, what is Dronacharya in us? So, Dronacharya represents our samskaras, as impressions which are left behind by past actions and habits. And these, what is the problem with these past actions? They will create an urge for repetition. So it is established in yourself that even when you want to go some other way, but because of your past actions and tendencies, you tend to repeat your actions again and again, and this is Dronacharya. The second stanza of Gita points out that as soon as the spiritual aspirant introspects to rouse and train by meditation his soldiers of discrimination, material desire seeks to reinforce himself by consulting his preceptor Drona, which represents samskara. So, this is the natural thing that happens. So, for example, if somebody has a tendency to smoking, and now you decide one day that okay, I am not going to smoke, I will fight this battle to get out of smoking. So the desire of smoking will refer back to the tendency and the old habit, because that habit has its power. So the desire of smoking will get together with the habit of smoking and they will try to make you go back to smoking. So this is how it works in your own mind. It happens on a daily basis, and I have just pointed out one habit. This is true for all habits. A habit of anger, of irritability, of worry, of fear, of everything that we go through in our daily life. Thus Drona joins the wicked mental tendencies when they are predominant in a man. Therefore, unless samskara is purified by wisdom, it will be found to be a follower of material desire or Duryodhana. Desire, when it acts alone, can be easily overcome, but when it is supported by habit, then it is very hard, very difficult to eject it by simply by discrimination. As soon as the spiritual aspirant tries to meditate and rouse the power of self-control, he will find desire will tempt him in several ways. The Bhagavad Gita commands man to avoid mere existence. It proclaims that the practice of contacting God in meditation will enable him to be in that state of blissful consciousness from where he can outdo desire as well as habit, from where he can be victorious over these things. And Master warns that we should not lead a mechanical existence. A daily mechanical routine is actually, we think that we have everything in place, but actually you are ending up so much in your comfort zone and you are using so much of the same circuit in your mind every day that you are unable to break out of that circuit. Some people will cry, I have not got my daily bed tea at this time. I normally read the newspaper at this time. Today I haven't got my newspaper, so I am so sad and I am so sick. So when you don't get things the way they happen every day, then again you are just in pain for some silly reason. So it's good to keep doing something new and creative on a daily basis. It's good to learn something new, whatever your physical age may be. Your mental age is the real thing, and most of us think that we take the excuse of saying, okay, now my body is aging, therefore I am old. No, consciousness can never get old, and the mind is under your willpower. If you don't want the mind to get old, it will not get old. Therefore, you must involve yourself in new creative impulses, in new ways to serve God and His creatures. And you will find that the age of the body is immaterial, and I am sure you would have seen so many high energy people around you who, in spite of their age in physical age, can accomplish a lot. So can you, so can each one of us. Therefore, Master, and of course the Gita is commanding you to cease from that mechanical little existence. Says why? Because it brings boredom, it brings unhappiness, and it brings discontent. Meditation, on the other hand, yields spiritual perception which enlighten and enliven every aspect of your life. The Gita does not teach that it is a sin to use the senses with discrimination and self-control, nor that living an upright, honest family life necessarily makes one worldly. But a spiritual aspirant is warned not to allow these to crowd out his supreme duty to seek God and self-realization. This is very important. And this brings us to the third shloka, third verse of the Gita, which is in continuity, and this is how it goes. Pashyetam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudam Drupad Putrena Tav Shishyena Dhimataha. Translation. हे गुरु, पांडु पुत्रों की इस महान सेना को देखो जो आपके प्रतिभाशाली शिष्य द्रुपद के पुत्र द्वारा युद्ध के क्रम में पंक्तिबद्ध की गई है. O teacher, behold this great army of the sons of Pandu, arranged in battle order by thy talented disciple, the son of Drupada. So I will just initiate the explanation to this verse without going into too much detail because we are out of time. So here two characters have been introduced. One is Drupad and one is the son of Drupad. And it is said that who was the general leading the Pandava army was the son of Drupad, whose name is Drishtadumna. And interestingly, Drupad represents dispassion and Drishtadumna represents the calm inner light of intuition. And it is that light and that dispassion that leads us into victory on the battle of Kurukshetra. And of course, we will go into detailed explanation of this shlok next time. With that, dear friends, we shall end today's class and we shall share the power of these teachings with all souls everywhere. Let us pray together. Divine Mother, beloved Lord Krishna, Thou art omnipresent, Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Divine Mother, Lord Krishna, may Thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken Thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, dear friends.